Hey, this is Pete coming back with another battle report of Guild Ball. This was recorded at the final round, and that's in Summerville, South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. Got Francisco's Engineers against Brandon's Union today. So they pick sides. We got Engineers on the left, that's Francisco. Union on the right, that is Brandon from Myrtle Beach's crew. He picked cards, got him right there. I don't think Brandon was thinking clearly because he picked Heroic Landing, and if you look at Union players that he picked, he does not have any people with heroics. Whereas Francisco is going to get some nice cards here. He's got Knee Slider, Composure, and Wingback, so he's got a couple cards that will help him out. This is Francisco's probably second game with Engineers, so keep that in mind while this battle report's going. That Francisco really doesn't have a ton of experience with the Engineers at this point, and you'll definitely notice that in the game. But I mean, he really likes them, he enjoys them, and it just ended up being a pretty good game with him. Brandon, however, is pretty familiar with Union, so he's definitely got the advantage as far as that goes. Looking at who Francisco has up at the top, he's going to shuffle these around a little bit, but Locust is up by the top, followed by Salvo. Then he has Velocity. Then he has Captain Ballista, Mainspring, and then back by the goal is Compound. Then Brandon's going to go ahead and set up. He just put out Avarice and Greed. At the top, you got Snakeskin. You got Harry the Mad Hatter. Coins behind Harry. And then down at the very bottom, he has Mist. So very scoring heavy lineup. You saw Brandon kind of keep everybody within 4 inches of Harry. And Francisco is going to kick the ball off with Velocity, because having her in the middle of the pitch is definitely a good thing. So there's definitely a couple things that I notice during this match, just kind of some things that might be questionable. Like, I'll point out ideal situations like, you know, hey, this guy could have done that, could have done this. Just keep in mind that these guys are having a fun game. They're competitive, but I mean, they just all in all want to have fun. So if you're thinking to yourself, why don't they do this instead of what they did? It might just be because they're having a fun game, or they didn't see it, because it's hard to notice things like that, I mean, in the heat of the moment. So let's see here. So Union's allocating. Of course, he's loading up Brisket, because you can get a turn 1 score on Brisket really easily, especially if you're used to her. He's got a couple on Avarice and Greed. Harry's got a couple, and then Mist has 2. Snakeskin looks like she just has 1. And Coin will be, of course, putting out it's free. Left side on the Engineers looks like Francisco put a bunch on Salvo. Also got a few on up at the top with Locust. So Snakeskin's activating, going to snap the ball, and going to kick it over. Once he lines up, he's going to finish his move first. Brandon's looking to set the ball, basically get this thing rolling quick. He's going to kick the ball over to Brisket and get that free dodge from Harry. So the kick's going to end up being a success. So Brisket now has the ball. And Harry lets you dodge for free if you're within 4 inches. So Brisket already moves up 4 and is moving into a stronger scoring position already. And she's tough to deal with unless you got 2-inch reach too, because Brisket has that unpredictable movement. So she's really safe to keep the ball with. Got a good defense, 4, 1 armor, so she's tough. Definitely finesse captain, but if you can learn how to play with her, she's rough. Francisco's just going to move Compound up, just keeping him within 4 inches for goaltender, or rush keep, that's what it's called. Compound was a good drop in this. There's going to be a couple times that Francisco has an opportunity to rush keeper. I just think he forgets about it. Okay, coin activates. Looks like he gave one to Harry, maybe? Back offers onto Harry, definitely. Looks like Ballista's going to activate. I think what Francisco is thinking is if he can knock Brisket down and get this ball somewhere advantageous, it's going to be really nice for Velocity to get that. So Ballista moves up. And unfortunately for Francisco, because she's a 4-1, so that's decent defense, he ends up missing this deadbolt, which is unfortunate because that would have been really nice if he could have gotten that. So he ends up putting up Minefield. He was going to put up something else, but it's out of range, so he just decides to put up Minefield just to make it a little more difficult for Brisket to score. So Brandon's going to go ahead, and I think he's looking to activate Harry here. Just get him up in the middle, get him causing problems with that 2-inch reach. I like putting Harry in the middle just because if he does take damage, you get 2 momentum points. So, I mean, there's no reason not to throw him into the fray. I mean, he's got a decent amount of boxes, and 3-1's pretty decent. I'm a Brewer player though, so I really love 3-1 armor and defense. It's like the whole Brewer crew. So he's gonna try to goad Velocity, and he actually ended up getting it. Just rolling 5s is difficult, but he gets goad, so Velocity has to advance towards Harry right now, which is not good, or during her activation. And then Harry's just gonna throw down this fire. Me eyeballing this, I think this is more than 6 inches. It's close, but you want to keep your game clean. You want to make sure that that fire is centered within 6 inches. He ends up actually hitting them both. Hits Velocity again, so they're both on fire. So I mean that was a balling turn from Harry. You can't ask for more than that. So Francisco's just going to activate Mainspring. I think he's just trying to figure out what the heck this Union team's doing. I really don't think at this time he was too familiar with the Union. He knew what Mist does because Francisco plays Mist a bunch. But a lot of the other pieces he's not familiar with. So at this point of this game, this was about a month or so ago, probably closer to 2 months actually. I've been slacking a little bit on this battle report. So yeah. After Mainspring jogs, Mist is going to go pop smoke. You can see that on the bottom of the screen. And that gives her, we always call him or her, it's a him. So he sprints up and kind of keeps that cover going. So Mist is in an annoying position. And basically, Brandon's looking to set up this I'm open to Brisket, try to get another dodge with her. Francisco does something pretty cool here in a minute because he's going to activate Salvo. So he ends up basically jogging Salvo over there. Sorry, not jogging, but sprinting over there. Can't go through the fire because it'll shorten too much. So he's got to take a long way around. And he's actually going to pop an arrow to the knee into Mist, which is kind of a gamble, but actually it ends up playing out really well for him here in a minute. He's going to put an arrow into Mist's knee, getting momentum, and it's going to reduce Mist's kick, which is awesome because that's going to handicap Brisket a little bit. So now that Brandon's sitting back down, he ends up hitting, which is awesome. Like I said, it was a gamble, but it was worth it. So Mist's kick is reduced, and then he also ends up doing Flurry on the Mist. So putting some early damage on is definitely a good thing. So Mist takes some decent damage right here. and has an arrow to the knee, which is awesome because you just see mist with the cloak and, like an arrow sticking out. Hobbling around now. Got to pull that arrow out, son. Brandon can't find the right marker. This guy, I tell you. It's really great to have the Myrtle Beach crew coming down to Charleston to game. With our two stores combined, it would make Captain Planet very happy. I mean, we're going to end up running a league here soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, just a quick shout out to that Myrtle Beach crew. They do a great job of traveling to support our events and just to hang out and game. Alright, so he's looking at activating Brisket potentially, but he can't pass it to Mist anymore because it's got that knee, or his arrow to his knee, so Mist can't really do anything with that. So I think Brandon's going to end up activating Avarice and Greed here. Just kind of jogging him up, runs Greed up behind him. Once again, he's just going to use Greed as a basically catapult for Brisket. So once Avarice and Greed are done just advancing, that's all they're really going to do. Locust is going to activate. Just kind of jog up. Locust can be, I tell you, as a Brewer player, anybody with 2-inch reach, Locust is annoying because he sucks you in. So even if you have 2-inch reach, he only has a 1, but once you engage him, that gravity thing sucks you in, and it's just a pain in the butt to deal with. He has an early knockdown too. But Locust ends up doing a destructive impulse onto Harry, which, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's also not good because he basically gives Brandon 2 free momentum points with that rising anger. A lot of people tell me Harry was awful in Season 2, like nobody ever brought him. Well, obviously they noticed and fixed it because he is awesome in a lot of different teams. Let's see here, what else? I think that's all he did with Locust. So then he's going to activate Brisket finally because he has his set up. He just kicks to Greed, dodges 4 inches for free. Greed kicks it back with I'm open. Hey, that's a successful kick. Where does Brandon dodge to? I can't quite remember. It's going to dodge to engage Ballista. So he spent 3 momentum already, or 3 influence already. So he's got 3 left. Bought 1, so he's only got 2 left after this attack. And something I noticed here is that Brandon, if you just looked at that, accidentally measured he got a double dodge, so a 2-inch dodge. But when he dodged, and he's going to do it here again in a second, he dodges with the 3-inch. So he's actually covering 2 more inches of ground, and you can see right there, 3 inches. So he kind of cheats there. I'm not sure if he did it on purpose. I'm sure it was just accidental because in his mind, he knows where he wants to be, so he just kind of grabs that widget and just move there. But he definitely shouldn't be there. He should be about 2 inches back, probably engaged by 2 people. So he ends up shooting, he scores a goal. It's pretty easy with Brisket because you only need 3s. Because she loves to score. So, like I said, probably shouldn't have been a goal there because I think if you move her 2 inches back, I don't think right now she's probably about 6 inches away, so you put her back 2 inches, probably at her max range, and like I said, she'd be engaged. So your target number would go up. So Brandon, if you're listening, make sure you're dodging with your 2 inches, not your 3 inches there, bud. But that's okay. That's why we play this game, is to get better. Plus, Brandon's a good guy. I know he wouldn't cheat like that on purpose. It's fun. It's funny. When I saw it when I was doing my notes on this video, I saw that. I'm just like, that son of a... Yeah. I'm going to keep an eye on him now. Francisco's just kind of weighing his options. Turn 1 score is always pretty rough. That's why Brisket, it's just like playing the fisherman. I mean, I've seen her just... She's tough. She just scores goals. She scores for fun. Tough to pin down. So I think Francisco's just kind of weighing his options here. He's asking who's activated, trying to see the best place to put the ball. And he kind of decides to just kick it by this rock. That way he knows where the ball's going to be. And maybe early next turn he can go get it. Okay, so then he's going to activate Velocity. The problem is here, if you remember, Velocity has Goad on her, so the only place that Velocity can go is towards Harry, plus she's on fire, so not in a great situation. Obviously, he doesn't want to get closer. If he was thinking, he should have, when he did Destructive Impulse with Locust, he should have pushed Harry more in the direction he wanted Velocity to go. So Velocity just dodges, and that's pretty much it. That's all he can really do. Union ends up winning this roll-off. Velocity and Ballista end up taking some fire damage. There's really not any knockouts in this game. They were both looking to score. So it was just one of those games where this is just a score fest. I think this might have been Brandon's first game with Brisket, though. I can't remember. So I think he's trying to figure out also how this Union team's really working. Brisket's tough. I mean, she's good, but she definitely is tough to use because she's got so many options that if you're not practiced with her, it's hard to know what you're doing. So Brandon's going to do the traditional load up here. You're going to see Brisket has a couple. He knows he's not going to score with her this turn. I think he's just going to reposition. Mist has a few. Harry's got a bunch. He's going to smack somebody this turn. Let's see here, who else? Everson Greed has a couple. And looks like Snakeskin has one. So pretty well spread out influence on the Union side. Francisco's going to kind of do the same thing. He's going to put a bunch on, almost said Pin Vice, but on Ballista in the middle there. Salvo, I guess he's liking Salvo. I think he put another 2 on Salvo, 2 on Locust. Loading up Velocity, seeing if he can score a goal. Compound's weird. I mean, Compound's good, but people know what Compound do, and he kind of loses it. I mean, because when I play against Alchemist or I play against Engineers, a lot of times when I put stuff in countercharge range, it's because I want it to be countercharge to move him out of the way. So anyways, Brisket's going to be first to go. I think Brandon's doing this because he knows he needs to get out of dodge. So he's going to end up attacking a couple times on Ballista to get some damage and also to dodge. Get some of that momentum rolling. If you're new to the game, momentum is huge. So, I mean, even though, like, if you're not going to kill something or if you're not going to score your first activation, it just gets some momentum. Figure out which piece can gain you the most momentum. Get it rolling early because that gives you a lot more options as you play the game. So that's what Brandon's doing right now. He's doing a really good job of kind of playing this team. besides using his 3-inch as a 2-inch. I'm going to make fun of that the whole game now. Alright, so he ends up using Brisket's Legendary. If you don't know what that is, she basically pops base to base with a model, a friendly model within 6 inches. Then that model gets to do a 6-inch dodge, I think. So Miss dodged basically up top because going after the ball. And Brisket now is in a way safer location. So, I mean, you really don't... I mean, if you look at the engineer team that Francisco's running, there's not hardly any takeout threat. But if he left Brisket there was a takeout threat. I mean, she doesn't have that many boxes. So Salvo's going to activate. This actually is a really good activation by Francisco. Because look at all those Union guys bunched up. So what he's going to do is he's going to activate Salvo. And he's going to put Flurry out there. And if you don't know what Flurry does, you hit a model. And then every model within 2 inches takes damage as well. I think it's 2 damage. So basically that whole Union pile over there that they're measuring to right now, Salvo's going to move over there, shoot it, and all those models are going to take 2 damage. I mean, it's going to trigger Rising Anger again from Harry, but I mean, I think there's 5 models over there, maybe even 6 counting Greed. You got the snake up there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think the little guy's hiding behind Harry, but yeah, that's going to be, so 6 guys, 2 damage apiece. I mean, that's 12 damage with just that one shot because he shot Avarice, which is really easy to hit with this 3-0. So he ends up doing that, and he puts an arrow to the knee, and I think, who did he try to do that to? I think he did an arrow to the knee to Avarice because there wasn't anybody else in range. But he wanted the momentum. Yeah. So he gets a couple momentum, and the Flurry was a really great play. You should have probably moved up a little bit more to do an arrow to the knee to like Greed or Snakeskin potentially, or even Mist if you really wanted to get up there. So I think Brandon's kind of looking at how to respond. He realizes he doesn't want to be bunched up like that, especially with Locust right there and Ballista and a couple other pieces. So he's kind of trying to figure out how to best go get that ball. So I think he just decides to end up, he's going to move Coin over. He's going to slither on over. And Coin's going to put one on Avarice. So making Avarice and Greed. Do more stuff's always good. Do more stuffs. Locust is going to end up going. Which I think probably the better option here would have been to take Velocity over there to get the ball, because she could dodge 2 inches back, and then she can run, I think, like 8 inches, 10 inches, something crazy like that. I think it's 9 actually. So I mean, Velocity could have ended up way up on top of the board, and the Snakes over there, and Snakes again, and Avarice and Greed, and I mean, Velocities, none of those are going to deal with her. Eventually Mist would get to her, but that'd be better than what he's going to do here. Because he's activating with Locust, which is okay. But he's slow. So he's going to jog over there to get the ball because he's just outside of his remote kick. So he has to actually jog over there, get the ball, and then kick it to, he's going to kick it to Compound. Which Compound having the ball is good if you have a takeout team. Like, Compound can hold the ball for a while, but you need a takeout team to kind of whittle them away as they try to get the ball away from the big fat goalie. So I don't think, and like I said, this is Francisco's second game with the Engineers at this point, so I don't think he really knew what he was throwing together. But if you have Compound, you're kind of expecting them to come at you, and that's why you want some hitters. And Ballista, I think, and maybe Locust are the heaviest hitters on this team. Compound's actually pretty decent too, but Francisco's not comfortable with using him. So Snakeskin just moves up and puts Nimble on herself in the cover, making her like impossible to hit, especially if you're a dude. She likes to charm guys, just like Flint, except for not gay. And I thought Francisco was going to do, because if I was him, I'd do the same thing that I thought he was going to do, which is move Compound to where he's measuring right now, staying within 4, and he could drop the ball and give it to the Cockroach, Mainspring, which is what I thought he was going to do, but he decides not to move and stay there, which if he moved over, I thought he would have been in a better position, because if somebody came to try and take the ball away from Mainspring, he could just countercharge. So I think Compound being a little further towards the bottom of the camera would have been better. So Harry's going to go crazy, and Harry ends up charging Ballista, and Ballista is about to get molested by Harry. So Harry's rolling 7 dice, and he charged. He's rolling 11 dice on the charge, which is good. The old Hatter. Francisco defensive stance here. And I don't think it actually prevented a lot. I think Brandon in the first half of this game rolled pretty strong. Not on that roll, but there's one later where it's like he needs 4s and he hits with all of them. So Harry's going to end up knocking him down because that's kind of what Harry does. Harry's got 2 influence left, so he ends up buying 2 more attacks, and pretty much ends up doing some stiff damage. I think he ends up doing 3, which Ballista has tough hide, so I mean he's not going anywhere too quick. I mean, when I play against Engineers, my Brewers, I mean I put like 2 people in the Ballista. That's how tough he is to kill. So after Brandon ends up doing that 3 damage, and he doesn't push him, which I thought was interesting. Now here's Brandon complaining about his dice. Rolling 4 1s. Give me some whammy fries. So he's going to end up pushing him, and let's see where he ends up pushing him. Pushing him more toward the center of the board. Let's see here. Francisco is going to activate Ballista. So he ends up doing Deadshot, or Deadbolt, sorry. So he ends up doing Deadbolt, and he does it onto Avarice, which I thought was an interesting choice. Once again, I think he just wanted the momentum and he wanted to knock him down, so it's harder for him to do stuff, which isn't too bad of an idea because Avarice and Greed are a really tricky piece. I mean, they can, I'm going to show you, actually I think it's this next activation. Avarice and Greed can do some really bizarre things. So here's where I'm going to kind of tell you what should have happened. So once again, I think he might be being nice here, but he could have scored on this turn with Avarice and Greed pretty easy. So if he would have picked up Greed right here, he could have just ran Avarice to Ballista. So you're going to see him charge here in a second, which I think he does pick him up. I think he's going to pick him up and charge. But he actually charges. I would have just ran. Okay, so he's going to charge Avarice after he picked up Greed. Now, if it was me, I would have ran as far as I could have to Ballista, and then I would have dropped Greed. And you can see the ball is dropped, compound dropped the ball. I would have dropped Greed. Where'd he go dodge to that ball and kick that sumbitch in? Instead, Brandon's farming momentum and doing, which is cool, he's doing damage, whatever. But he could have got a turn 2 score here pretty easy. Because you can see, even though he didn't move all the way, if you look, if he still drops Greed, you could even move Greed into melee with compound so you don't get countercharged, dodge out, and then kick the ball in. He should have scored there. So he should be up 8-0 right there. Just, yeah. But instead he ends up farming. They end up doing, I think, 6 damage overall. Knocks him down, so Ballista's knocked down again. Ballista's having a rough day. The old captain. Yeah, Brandon totally could have scored there. Especially if he was using his 3-inch widget. Yeah, so just, I don't know if he was thinking he could, because he doesn't have a lot of activations left. I mean, he just has, I think, Mist. Yeah, he has Mist left. So I don't know if he thought he could kill him or if he's setting up the kill for next turn. And this is a time where, if you look, Francisco's not used to, on the left playing engineers, is not used to playing engineers, because you can see Salvo totally blocking Compound's countercharge, the big fat goalie. If Salvo wasn't there, he could have countercharged. And even then, I think if he has a 2-inch reach, so I think Francisco might have been able to sneak in a countercharge even with Salvo in the way. Would have been tough, but maybe. You gotta be looking for it. Looking for it. So Francisco is going to activate Mainspring, and I think he's looking to get the ball to Velocity. That rock is killing this engineer team. It just bottles in. That's why I would have taken Velocity with the ball up around that rock. So it's a success though. So Velocity now has the ball. The little catapult cockroach just shot the ball. Just pew. That free pass is good. Long bomb. Can't be intercepted. It's just so good. That little cockroach. However, Mist is going to charge Velocity with the ball. So Mist comes in, and this Mist is very useful, especially just to get the ball, because that 2-inch reach is just good. So really good at getting the ball, really good at just getting the ball, dodging out, and scoring. Luckily, Velocity has close control though, so that'll prevent Mist from, at least scoring. So Mist charged. Velocity did defensive stance. Brandon was lucky enough to get a tackle. I guess not lucky statistics. He should have got one anyways. So he gets rid of her close control, tackles again, and then he's going to kick to Brisket. So he ends up kicking over there. And he ended up healing Harry with Come On Mate, so he spent 2 momentum to do that. So last activation is going to be Velocity for turn 2. So velocity is going to kind of just try to. I think he's. I think he's looking to squirt through there, so he's not taking a free strike from Snakeskin. And lucky enough, he can, because taking a parting blow from Mist doesn't matter. Mist is terrible at doing anything but scoring. So what Francisco ends up doing with velocity is he basically just runs her as far as he can, and then does a 2-inch dodge to get him to Brisket, which is really smart because, like I said, Brisket has that unpredictable movement. So if you get in her melee range of 1, she gets a 2-inch dodge just away. So that dodge into Brisket ignores that unpredictable movement. So that's going to allow velocity to be sitting right by the ball, and even if she doesn't tackle it, she's going to, be in Brisket's face, which Brisket's already used her legendary, so there it is. She's just there. So velocity ends up doing an attack, and she actually tackles the ball. Oh, no, she didn't. I guess he must have whiffed the attack, because it looks like down the bottom, Brisket still has it. Alright, so sadly, Union ends up winning the initiative again. The rich just keep getting richer. Oh, the Union. We got a lot of Union players popping up at the store, which is cool because they got 3 different captains. So, I mean, even though we have a few people getting into Union, you can play a very different team because all 3 of those captains play very, very differently. As a matter of fact, I think Francisco got a Union team. I think a buddy of his picked up the new box from Origins, so got another Union player. The bloody coin. Union's fun. If I didn't love my Brewers so much, I might venture into it. But I got the Brewers, and I also got them Farmers coming up. Excited. Got to figure out how I'm going to make those harvest tokens, because got to have those. Alright, so Brisket ends up attacking Velocity. Ends up doing a dodge out. It's going to do another one. And I think he decides to do another dodge. So he did a double dodge, and then he did a momentous dodge. So I think he's dodging 3 inches out here. I think he's looking to score again. Go up 8-0. Ballsy, I like it. So he's going to do his dodge. So this is what Brandon's been sitting here thinking about for a minute. So he's going to kick it to Mist, because Mist is right there. Francisco's looking up rules on his phone, trying to figure out what these engineers do. Measuring it all out. So he ends up kicking it to Mist, and that's a success. And he does a 4-inch dodge. And notice Brisket's right next to the goalie, but that's okay because she's dodged to get there. Big fat goalie can only countercharge if someone advances. So Mist has got a little tight window. He has to try to kick the ball through. Brandon's going to do it with I'm open though, so he's spent 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is a success, he can score a goal here probably. but missed the kick. What a jerk. So that ball's gonna scatter. And see, this is why I play melee teams. I get scoring is sexy and people love doing the goals and whatever. I like killing people because it's more reliable. Like, if you miss a kick like that, that totally changes your whole turn. And I can't tell. I played the new Huntress when she came out, Scatha, and she was fun. But I tell you what, when she missed one of those snowball kicks in a couple games I played, that just destroys her turn because I was looking at scoring, and then it's like, oh, she missed her free dodge, and now I can't score. So scoring teams are fun, um, but it's high risk, high reward. I like melee. It's more predictable. It takes a little longer to win, but you know, it's. I think it's more reliable. You miss a pass like that, the whole game's jacked up. Avarice intercepted the ball. Brisket bought an attack on Ballista just to get some momentum. Or no, he didn't. Sorry, he moved back to Velocity and bought an attack on Velocity to get some momentum. And Brandon's celebrating the fact that he missed that opportunity to score. So, looks like Salvo's going to go, I guess. Or is he going to do Ballista? Which one's going? Yeah, and this is why I got the game sped up. If you guys notice while they're playing, it's sped up to about a time and a half, just because. So it makes the game go faster because these guys have a lot of think time. I mean, Francisco's new, but that was Salvo doing arrow to the knee to missed, just to reduce his kick a little bit more. See, this is real bad. What? Because Avarice has the ball, Greed's right next to him. This is bad. When Avarice and Greed are this close to the goal, there's no reason you should not score with them. Yeah. Francisco needed to get the ball away from Avarice. Or he needed to push Greed away from Avarice, because if they're base to base, that just gives the player too many options, because they can pick up Greed and then you can drop them. And yeah, Francisco, yeah, and see, look, that's what he's doing right now. He's picking up Greed. Maybe. Oh, that was a counterattack. Counterattacked and pushed him out of the way, which is even better because that's going to give him more room to score. I think here Francisco's trying to figure out where he wants to be. Is that where you want to be? That where you want to be when Jesus comes back, picking up poor little Francisco and the Engineers? Hope you feel good about that, Brandon. Second game with the Engineers, picking on him. So then he ends up attacking Greed, and I think he ends up just dodging out, which once again is just gonna Salvo. It's still Salvo's activation. So Salvo's gonna dodge out, and it's going to give him some momentum, but I think he tackled the ball too. Yeah, he tackled. However, got the counterattack, knocked down, didn't get the dodge far enough. So Avarice bought the counterattack and he knocked down Salvo with the ball, so it scatters. Let's see where it scatters in a perfect position. And I don't know why. Oh, they had to roll off to see who got the ball, because the little Greedo is there, and Francisco rolled a 1. Bless his heart. Them dice never help Francisco out. Ask him sometime about Chisel. It's like if Francisco is playing Chisel and she charges, she's probably going to miss a lot. Just because Francisco just can't roll with that Chisel model. I'm sorry, Francisco. She'll work one of these days. I know she will. So this is where he spent a momentum to stand up, salvo again. And like I said, this is why I sped it up, because this activation alone is taking a while. But salvo stood back up, and he's going to dodge out just to, I guess he wanted to be safe. But it's actually bad because it gives Avarice and Greed more room to deal with. Because like I said, right now, especially with Avarice having the ball now, or sorry, not Avarice, Greed having the ball now, yeah, there's no reason that Avarice and Greed should not score here. Pretty brutal. However, Brandon is going to go about this the wrong way, and you're going to see why here in a second. The way Brandon did this, he actually shouldn't have scored. But in all reality, he should have scored. So Greed activates. He just where'd he go into compound, and Francis is going to counterattack. So he's got 7 dice. He's going to roll into, and hey, he hits compound a lot. However, Brandon forgets compound has gluttonous mass. This attack shouldn't have done anything. However, he either neglected to or just forgot about it and decides to dodge out anyways. So Francisco should have got a counterattack here and stole the ball, or at least knocked him down. But since they both didn't know about gluttonous mass, and I'm going to guess that because Brandon might not use compound as much, I don't know. But gluttonous mass should have triggered, that counterattack should have hit, and then compound probably should at least have the ball. But they both forgot about the rule. So this is an easy goal for Greed. He's got 4 dice. He's in tap in. Got it. Easy. So it's 8-0. Should actually be 0-0 right now. Looking at those 2 goals and how they were played, but it's a pickup game. I mean, you make mistakes when you do friendly games like this. You'll forget rules. You'll play it wrong. Hopefully, doing these videos like this, I hope it's going to make our meta and our group better, because you can watch these videos and see, oh, well, I got to make sure that I'm doing this right, and oh yeah, that model did have gluttonous mass, and that shouldn't have been a goal. So hopefully, if anything, I mean, I don't care if other people watch this video, but at least our local group can watch this and just kind of see like, oh, okay, this is the way it should have been done if I want to do that right. And you guys might have a different opinion. You might have wanted this to go a different way and say like, oh well, no, Greed shouldn't even have been there. He should have done this instead. So I mean, we'll see. I was actually thinking moving Avarice up to engage compound and just running around him with Greed and just tapping the ball in. I mean, that's the better way to do it, is just engage him. That way you don't even have to worry about that counter charge nonsense. Or engage him with Greed and then dodge out and then kick the goal. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents. That's the way I would have done it. It's just, hey, I'm going to walk into range with Greed. I'm going to dodge out. Now I'm scoring a goal. Alright, so Francisco's activating. Where'd he go? So looking at it, wondering if this is Ballista. he had activate Ballista. So he ended up doing Deadbolt into Avarice again, pushed him back, knocked him down, and then he put up Minefield. Sorry, I had to look at that for a little bit because that was not in my notes. And those of you making fun of me that I did notes for this video, forget you. I'm a teacher. I take notes on stuff. Helps me reference what's going on in the game. That way, when you guys are watching this, hopefully you get something out of it. You know, you can actually picture how this game is being played as opposed to me just saying, well, looks like he's moving this piece up there. I don't know who that is, but, you know, we'll go ahead and guess that's that model. Alright, so Brandon ends up activating, he's activating Harry, and he's going to put him into Velocity. He goes crazy here, because why not have 7 dice? A little tip for those of you trying to figure out how to use Harry. Always go crazy if you can do melee hits and heal him at the end of his activation, for the love of God. Always just heal that 3 that you did. So even if you only have 3 damage on, you still heal the 4 because you know you want to heal up. So I'm not sure. I think they rewound here a little bit. So what they end up deciding to do is, looks like they decided to rewind with Ballista. Actually, no, they didn't. Ballista still had 1 influence on him. So what he did is, he didn't put up Minefield. He decided to run Ballista, and he's going to use his Legendary to do his 10-inch kick that cannot be intercepted. So, yeah, so he did that Deadbolt. He knocked down Avarice. Did not do Harry's activation yet with Brandon, so just keep that in mind. And then, so he moved, and then where you see that 10-inch measuring stick, that's Ballista about to do his Legendary to kick that ball over there, which I find that interesting spot. I think he might try to change this to Velocity, because Velocity's right there. I think Brandon's looking up at rule just about how the engineer's Legendary interacts with something in the situation. It's just taking him a minute. Once again, why we fast forwarded it. This video was originally 2 hours long, so speeding it up and cutting out a couple of different sections reduced it to an hour. So that way you guys could see kind of what was going on. And I guess they didn't find the rule. They're kind of just still discussing the interaction. Interesting. So I think instead of deciding to kick it, well, no, he's still man, they are taking their sweet time on this. Which, I mean, it's a... Okay, so they did decide to. So Snakeskin activated, she moved to the rock. So that's what Brandon was doing with that piece up there. And then Francisco's now activating the cockroach. And the cockroach is going to try and kick it. So Ballista did not use his Legendary. I guess he thought better of it. Then the cockroach kicks it. And the kick missed because they are going to scatter it. But if the ball scatters in the right direction, that's going to be nice because velocity is right there. Velocity snaps the ball to her, which is good because she has that close control. You want to know what ignores close control though? Knockdowns. Ball's gone. Whatever Corsair's thing is. Alright, so now he's activating Harry, so now we're getting kind of back on the right track here. So Harry's going to do a couple things. First thing he's going to do is, once he goes crazy here, he's going to get 7 dice. I think that's Brisket next to him, so he's actually getting 8 dice. I tell you guys, I love this game of Guild Ball just because the measurements are so clean in it. Lots of nice widgets out there to kind of make sure that your measurements are nice and clean. So yeah, I really enjoy this game. So he does end up knocking her down, so that ball is going to scatter. So it scatters away from Velocity. Poor Velocity, she just can't get it together, which makes me laugh because I hate her. If you haven't played against Velocity, she is tough. Tough to kill because she has Reanimate. Brandon's going to end up doing 4 damage with these other attacks, and he's got a 2-inch push, so he actually does a good job of repositioning Velocity here in a second. He's going to end up doing 2 damage and pushing Velocity right base to base with him, which sucks because that takes away her 2-inch dodge to get out of there. Usually, but I think Brandon messed up here and didn't put him base to base. And Brandon just moved the ball. I'm just going to pick this ball. I hate loose balls when it's on my side of the board, because like right there, I'd be putting cards down and stuff, and I would accidentally pick that up just like Brandon just did, because you're just like, oh, what's this ball doing here? And yeah, it's supposed to be there. So, I think Francisco's going to try to score here, because I think Brandon messed up and didn't put him base to base, so he's going to try to score. So what he does is Francisco puts Nimble up, so that's 1. And then he buys an attack. He only gets 3 dice, and he only got 1 hit, so he does 1 damage to Harry. Which stinks, because now he only has 2 influence left. He's going to buy another one. And he only got 1 hit again. So, 1 for Nimble, 2 attacks. That's 3 influence spent. So he's going to spend 1 dodge out. Like I said, since he's not base to base, they are now disengaged. So Francisco can now just walk over and get the ball. And just kick this in. Now the problem, like I said, is Velocity can only have 4 influence. She already nimbled, bought 2 attacks, and she dodged out. So she should have no influence left. However, Brandon and Francisco played this like she had 5 influence. Now, they may have said, okay, we'll just count you as not having nimble up so you can try to get your goal. I didn't hear that in the playback. So I don't know if they just went back and said, okay, she doesn't have nimble. But I mean, he clearly paid 1 to give her nimble. So either way, Velocity's about to score that goal. Kapow! And it was even a screamer. So all the horns went off. You know, you had the announcer in the background yelling the goal. And he gets to play the knee slider. So that's what he was just showing off right there. Alright, so he ends up doing the knee slider out, which it probably isn't terrible. That way it kind of prevents Brisket doing Brisket things there. So Brandon slides it out to where Mist is going to be. Doesn't get a favorable scatter because it ends up going over towards Harry. Harry and Ballista and Avarice and Greed. It would have been really nice if it went next to Mist. So ends up going to get the ball. So as the ball is all the way over there, and Francisco has to figure something down. He's down 8-4. He's got Locust there though, so I think he's going to try to knock him down with Locust. Nope, I guess Locust didn't have any influence on him. So Snakeskin has the ball up there. Mist moves up. Which, that's what I'm saying, is if Francisco is used to playing this team, he could have countercharged right there with Compound. Something else I think these guys could do a better job at is counterattacking in the correct positions. Like I said, this has kind of been more focused on scoring, so I don't know if that's distracted them with some of that other stuff you can do. So he's just trying to generate some momentum here with Mist. He's throwing 5 dice into Salvo. Just trying to generate some momentum. So Francisco is going to swing into Greed with Compound. Looks like he gets a couple hits. And he ends up putting some damage on Greed. Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, I probably would have gone base to base. And he ends up pushing him away. I guess that way it keeps his counter charge. So they roll off here. Engineers actually win the roll off, which is awesome. Nothing like that first turn that you actually get the momentum. Yeah, it just sucks when you keep losing the momentum roll off. Just because, I mean, you want to do stuff and you want to get that first shot in, and when you don't win that roll off, it can go downhill pretty quickly, especially if they take out a model. Which I try to do always with the Brewers. Alright, so he loads a few on Locust. He's going to try to go get the ball here in a little bit. Let's see where else he puts this. Influence. I think he also needs to put at least 2 on Velocity just to get her back in the game. Go get that ball. Puts a couple on Salvo. Ooh, looks like he put 4 on Salvo. Put a couple on Ballista. And he put 3 on Velocity, which was interesting. Brandon's putting his out. He looks like he has a few on Snakeskin. He has 1 on Avarice, or 1 on Greed, 3 on Avarice. Looks like 4 on Mist. 3 on Harry, and looks like just 2 or 3 on Brisket. So this should be an interesting turn. Actually, I think this is the last turn of the game. It only goes turn 4. Spoiler alert. So either Francisco's going to get 2 goals in 1 turn, or Brandon gets 1 more goal. We'll see what the odds are on that. See if anybody wants to take bets. Brandon's measuring with that 3-inch widget again. Yeah, if you look at that widget he's using, there's 3 different measurements: 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch. And I really hope, like, he's not. Okay. So Locust moves in, and like I said, he's got an early knockdown. Locust is actually a really annoying model. He has knockdown, he's hard to kill, drags you in with his gravity pull. And I'm pretty sure right here, I think he might get a push first, but he's going to knock down Snakeskin. Snakeskin's rough with dudes because you need 5s to hit her. So he does knock down Snakeskin. He got lucky on that 5. I think he gets a decent scatter here. I don't know why Coin doesn't snap this up right here. That's right next to Coin. I think Brandon knows that this is Francisco's like second game with Engineers, so he might be letting off the gas at this point. And I can understand that because I like having fun games too. You do have to be careful though, because I have been in games where I've let off the gas and I either almost lost or actually did lose. Which I know is not a big deal to some people, but you know, I always try to win. That's me. I like having fun games, but I mean, even if it's fun, I like to win. So when you let off the gas a little bit and then they come back and beat you, it sucks. So he ends up buying more attacks with Locust. He does a push. I think he pushes him away from that rock here in a second. That way it's not 5 defense and getting cover, because that's annoying. Alright, so knockdown. Locust looks like he has 2 influence left, or you already spent that? Nope, he didn't spend it yet. So you got to think when you're like, Locust here is buying attacks, and that's great. But you got to look at what are you trying to accomplish here. Like, he's got the ball loose, that's good. He didn't get the ball though. So it's just like, what are you trying to do here? So if it was me, I would have spent that last 2 influence or 1, whatever it is, for remote kick. And okay, yeah, good. That's what Francisco's doing. Yeah, kick that ball out of there. Just make it difficult. I don't know. Where is everybody? Yeah, that's actually probably the best spot, because Greed's down there next to the goalie. So if he kicked it back, Greed's going to get the ball and probably score again. So this actually is a pretty good spot. It tries to delay the scoring that the Union's trying to do. Man, Brisket got that early score and hasn't done a lot since. Francisco did do a pretty good job of shutting her down. The problem is that Avarice and Greed and Mist are around doing their annoying stuff, and it's preventing... It's just so hard to clear the ball when you got so many scorers. Alright, so Brandon's got to figure out how to get this ball. So he's going to do crafty Union stuff. What the heck is he doing? So Avarice and Greed are activating. Looks like he wants momentum. So Everson Greed are going. I think he's trying to get a knockout onto Salvo. The problem is I think he didn't quite load them up. We'll see, that was one attack. Got some momentum, put some damage on him. I like doing singled out first with him. Get that extra 2 dice, set it up real nice. So we got 3 hits on Salvo, looks like this time. Salvo is actually decently hard to hit. I think he's a 4-1. So we bought 2. What else are you going to do here? Yeah, maybe he did load him up. He's rolling 3rd attack. Does another 2 damage here. Nope, he did more than that. Looks like he did 3 damage. And last attack, this one's with the little guy. The little guy. So after they figure all the math out, they roll the last attack, and that's a good roll. Big damage here. Not enough to knock him out, though. So I'm saying neither team had a knockout team. I'm telling you, either one of these lineups, I love going into my Brewers. Because if I can kill the ball somewhere and just start teeing off on these nice squishy models, love it. If you can't tell, I really like the melee game. I like smashing models. So Everson Greed did not knock out Salvo. Salvo's still standing. So Francisco's look, because when you start taking that much damage with a model, you got to activate him next. I mean, Brandon's forcing his hand, which is probably why he did it. He's like, you know, the ball is way back there. He could maybe get it with somebody, so I'm going to force him to activate Salvo. Otherwise, I'm going to kill him. Yeah, out of the 2, you got to go after Greed. Greed's easier to kill, even though he's defense 5. Avarice is so hard to kill because he has a lot of hitboxes and tough hide. So they're just talking some stuff out. I think Brandon at this point is trying to help him out to figure out the best cause. Brandon plays engineers a lot, like to the point where he's actually a little burned out from, you know, playing them. So he's kind of just giving him some advice, saying, you know, this is probably the best way to play this. What are you trying to do? I'm going to help you figure that out. So Brandon is the pundit in Myrtle Beach, so he does a good job of getting players into the game and getting them interested in how to play their team effectively. Even though he did mess up some rules in this game, he's still a good pundit, I swear. So he ends up doing some damage to... Okay, he looks like he did Flurry. So Flurry, which is interesting. Can you do Flurry damage to yourself if you're within the 2? I think that's what just happened. He's outside of 1. If you guys can hear me yawning, I apologize. It's a little late. Did a lot of painting today. Not painting models. I would love to be painting models. Painting the house. Only got so much time left on this video, though, so this should go by pretty quick. So, looks like Salvo's swinging away on the little guys. Got +1 because of compound. Gonna do some damage here. I don't know what they're trying. It's kind of like it's a pickup game, so they're kind of casually going through all this. And I know as a viewer that can be frustrating sometimes. Keep in mind, we also got like 3 other Guild Ball games going on in the background. So there's at times during this video where people have been asking Brandon a question, or people have been talking to him, kind of having a good time. But put more damage on Greed, it looks like. Greed's only got 4 boxes left, so yeah. I mean, if I was playing this team, I would have been putting more, I think, influence on Compound and actually doing damage with him, because, I mean, he's not a bad damage guy. Also, Locust has been out of position the whole game. He needs to be more center of the board, controlling kind of where that traffic's going. Velocity's been played okay this game by Francisco. She's been bouncing around. That's what she should be doing. Ballista's kind of been doing some different things. Not bad, though. He should be knocking people down. Salvo, I don't know. I don't see Salvo a lot, so... I hope Greed gets killed here. Greed's annoying. Drop him. Nope, he elects to dodge away instead. So Brandon activates the snake coin. So coin is going to give the influence, the bag of coffers, to himself. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to jog up, get the ball, and then I'm going to kick it to somebody, because I'm stupid snake that does that. Wish I got free influence with Brewers. Oh, wait, I do. Old Jake. Love it. Give me a nip. Alright, so obviously his little 4-inch kick doesn't go anywhere. Brandon rolls it. Goes right to Harry, which is beautiful. Harry's going to snap. What are we doing? So the ball snaps to Harry. Beautiful. Love it. I think Harry should score the goal. Be fitting. Oh, but... See, this is why I hate playing engineers, because, hey, here comes Ballista to ruin Harry's fun. So Harry gets knocked down, takes some damage, and the ball scatters. Stupid engineers. It's almost like you don't want the ball until after Ballista goes. Alright, it's going to scatter back towards Francisco. Not a bad scatter. Alright, and I think he puts up Minefield after that. Well, this is kind of weird because he has some awesome range stuff, but he also can do decent melee damage, so you kind of want him in the middle of things, but you don't because it can get bad. So Harry's going to activate, stands up using momentum. Going to go crazy, which is interesting because it looks like Harry's only got a few boxes left. That's rough. Ballista's been pinging him away pretty good. Plus he's been cutting himself to feel alive. So metal. Alright, so... swinging away on the old Ballista. Looks like he charged in too. Let's see, he's got 2, 4, 6. Yeah. Alright, so he's gonna end up knocking him down. He does that to kind of set a path for someone to score here. He's trying. He has a couple options. Looks like he has Mist and he has Brisket. So he kicks it back to Brisket, so it looks like he's going to try to go for the score with old Brisket. Like I said, Brisket's a pretty safe piece. And this is another chance where Francisco missed the counter charge. It's a little long, but it looks like Compound could have charged Harry. And I think Brandon got the tunnel vision and was like, oh, I'm going to smack Ballista. And Compound was totally within 6. At least I believe he was. I mean, I'm pretty good at eyeballing that, even though it's on the camera. And that would have stopped Harry and probably stole the ball, knocked him down at least. And Francisco does something kind of questionable. He almost makes more room for Brisket to come in. I don't know if he's like wants to move back, so yeah, I don't know. I almost would have ran up and engaged her. Because Rushkeeper's not going to help you because she's so close. So Brandon ends up going, spends the momentum, and he can't even look because his dice rolls have been so non-consistent. Inconsistent would probably be the correct word. It's in tapping range, so she needs 2s. 3s because he's engaged, but he got him. Nailed it. And that's the game. So Union wins 12-4. So the Union ended up getting the victory over Francisco's Engineers. Alas, Myrtle Beach ends up getting the win again. So really good game. A lot of goals scored. Really would have liked to seen some more takeouts. I think both teams needed at least 2 in there. Usually 2 takeouts and 2 goals is the recipe for success. This is Pete signing off. Have a good one.